So when we were going to, actually on the very evening that we were going to record our last podcast, because right now it's a bi-weekly podcast.
Yes.
So we were going to put out an episode the week before Thanksgiving. That made sense. Mm-hmm. That works out.
It was a Thursday.
Yeah.
We actually had a bit of good news earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And so we went out to celebrate at one of our favorite restaurants.
We had really positive energy
yes.
going on.
It was a great night.
And as we were sitting in a booth, and Tristan and Justin were on one side, and me and Marina were on the other. Mm-hmm. And I was leaning over to help my child with something, and he shoved his fingers in my eye.
Okay.
Which you may be like, oh, whatever, you got something in your eye. I did. Okay, if you ever watched Home Alone, when he's in so much pain that he goes, and then he goes, and screams. That's like what happened. I couldn't. The motions that I was making, I did, like, my body reacted so weird because you can't do anything. Like, when you have a burn and you run and put cold water on it, or you put pressure and, like, things instantly feel better. I was like, I think you put a knife in my eye. Like, there's no reaction. So I finally, like, run to the bathroom.
For the record, I didn't see this happen. I just saw the after effect of you holding your eye. And I thought, once in a great while, you get like that one eyelash in your eye and it really hurts for like a second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, she must have one of those. But it just didn't go away for you.
No.
And you were crying and you ran to the bathroom.
I ran to the bathroom and I assumed like maybe like because he was eating food and stuff, maybe something bad got in my eye, right? Something gritty, food. So I'm trying to wash my eye out and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't see. Ugh. Blood came out of my eye. So I was having the napkin with the other eye. I could see the blood. And it's just black. My eye's open and I'm seeing black. I have to tell you, that's really scary.
Yeah.
When you're like, my effing vision's gone. Don't like it in the middle of a restaurant.
Only one eye.
Of only one. So I'm like trying to flush my eye out. I'm like, okay, maybe it's more like, kind of when you see stars or something. I'm like, okay, maybe it's fine. Meanwhile, there's people in the bathroom. So I'm like crying and screaming. There's people just washing their hair. It was so uncomfortable, but I didn't know what to do. So it finally calms down a little bit. And then it was just blurry. It was very, very blurry. So I could see that it was light. It wasn't pitch black anymore. And I could see the fuzzies of things, but I couldn't tell you what I was looking at or whatever, just that it was light instead of dark, okay? And I'm like, okay, it's obviously slowly coming back. Maybe I got something really bad in there. And, even when you get an eyelash out or whatever, it sometimes takes a few minutes. It can still kind of hurt, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go sit back down, and I bet progressively over the next, 15 minutes, whatever, I'm going to feel much better. I'm sitting at the table, and my eye's having these spasms, and I'm shaking, and it hurts so effing bad, and the boys are eating their pizza, and I'm like...
It was great pizza, by the way.
I'm like, I didn't want to eat anything, and, like, I couldn't look. Like, if I lifted my head a certain way, my eye would freak out, and I'm like, I can't. This is a severe level of pain. I was just in tears. Like, it wasn't the kind of tears of, like, I feel like crying, I'm crying. It was, like, the... Pain tear... of like, I can't even control it. Like, there's just tears rolling down my face.
At first, we're just eating our pizza. You were in the bathroom, and I knew you had something in your eye. I figured you're flushing it. Like, I get it, right? When you came back and you weren't getting better, we're eating our pizza, and like, it's dinner. It's like a celebration dinner. And then, but you're not getting better, and you're like crying, and you're like in pain. You're screaming. And honestly, you have a pretty good tolerance for pain. I mean, you gave birth to Marino. He was a bit of a chunk.
And I was a trooper during that. Even the nurse was like, you're nuts, because I was walking the hallway and doing squats and stuff like that. I'm very motivated. Yes.
So you were like in a lot of pain, and and then I'm like, okay, how about we get the pizza to go? We'll go home. You're like, no, we're already here. And then I'm realizing this is just not working. I go, hey, I'm gonna have my mom meet us at the house, and then maybe I'll take you to the doctor or the ER.
So she could take over the kids, because we had both kids with us. So it's like, once you got these kids, it's like, this is a lot. And I definitely don't want kids
at
an ER.
Oh, sorry.
Shut up.
My bad.
At the ER, because it's like people go when they're sick and stuff. So I'm not trying to bring a baby in there, and I don't want Tristan to get anything. So it's like, it makes it so complicated. But I couldn't see. Yeah. I could not drive myself to a hospital.
As I'm realizing this more and more and more, I call my mom back, and I'm like, Mom, we're going straight to the ER. Like, something's really wrong with her eye. I need you to meet me at the ER. Here's the deal. I wasn't going to drop her off at the ER because she can't be by herself. So I sent Tristan, our 10-year-old, and he walked you into the ER because I had the baby still. We didn't want to bring the baby in the ER. So
I did not want to expose this stuff.
I waited in the car with the baby, but Tristan walked you in, and it was so cute. You probably couldn't see it, but
I could not see it.
I watched him get out of the car and like become like a young adult because he put his arms around you and was walking you in. He was so sweet doing this, and it was like I was very, very concerned for you, and it also kind of melted my heart that he was taking such good care of you because he was scared and he was trying to be a comforter for you.
It really bothered him, and it was so sweet. He even said to me, he goes, Marino, why would you do that? She's the nicest out of all of us. Aww. And I was already crying for other reasons, but it made me want to cry. It was just the sweetest thing in the whole world. Sweet. Love him so much. And I felt so awful because like it was supposed to be this fun night out, and now we're sitting in an ER, and like you always want to make your kids feel better and feel like nothing's wrong. But I couldn't stop crying and shaking. I was in such a level of pain.
I hated it.
But as I was crying and shaking, I go, Tristan, I'm so sorry, honey, because it was like I wanted to be able to go, don't worry, honey, I feel totally fine. I feel like you know what you want to when you want to do that.
But you clearly didn't.
But I could. Yeah. I physically couldn't do it. Like I kept trying to make conversation, and then I would just start crying. I was in so much pain, and I go, I'm so sorry, and he's like, it's okay. I don't care. I just want you to feel better. And it was so sweet. But I felt awful because you don't like your kids look to you like, should I be scared? Should I be mad? Should I be sad? They look to you for what kind of emotions they should be feeling in a moment. And as the reassurance I wanted to give him, I couldn't give him because I was in so much pain.
Well, that's a good point because I'll never forget when I was 7 years old, it was the first time I saw my dad cry. Like my dad had never cried in my life, right? And so at 7, his dad, my grandpa passed away. And I saw my dad cry. And like as a 7-year-old, I remember being like, oh my God, like this is so heavy. Like I've never seen this before. Parents are superheroes. So now Tristan's seeing you crying and screaming and all these different things. That's not normal for him. I mean,
because even when I've had bad moments, for your kids, you're like, it's fine. We're working through this. We're doing. You have those, and I'm like, I can't see. Like, I can't even like pat you to make you feel better. It was so bad.
So tell them what the ER diagnosed you with.
Okay, so I waited for several hours. My mother-in-law showed up and swapped out with my 10-year-old, and he got to go home. Thank goodness. And it wasn't like I'm a spoiled brat and I need someone there. I couldn't drive. Like I needed someone to bring me home, and I couldn't see well. Like even your mother kind of like helped me to the room. I couldn't see well, so. The girl was like, oh, don't worry. It's just a scratched cornea. And I'm like, can you give me something for this? She goes, no. Once you go home, you're going to take ibuprofen, you're going to take Tylenol, and you put this little ointment on it. She goes, you will feel so much better once you take and I go, listen, I gave birth this year, and I'm telling you, this fucking hurts. So like, this isn't like, oh, let me take some time. I don't have a headache or something. Right. She goes, no, I know they're very sensitive. I'm so sorry, but you take that and you'll feel better. Well, I get home, I take those things, and I think I just spent the night screaming and crying.
It was the worst. Worst.
You picked me up off the floor at one point. I fell on the floor.
It was one of those things where, as a guy, as a husband, you feel helpless because. Like my wife is in so much pain. She's crying. She's screaming. She can't sleep. And then obviously I'm not sleeping either. I'm next to her. But like there was also nothing I could do to help it. Like I kept bringing you like washcloths and like ice.
To like lay on my eye. Yeah.
But like what else could I do? Because at the time we didn't even know what it really was. Like we had heard, the ER doctor said you got a scratch on your cornea. Yeah. And it would be fine in the morning. But as the night was going on, I'm realizing it's not getting better. No. It's actually getting worse. And you are screaming and not sleeping. And I'm like, you cannot go to work. Like there's no way you can drive downtown. I can't drive. We got the babies. Like you can't go to work. You're in so much pain. It was a mess. It was probably one of the worst night, if not the worst night I've ever had with you. I felt so bad for you.
It was one of the two most painful things in my life ever were getting my epidural, and we've talked about the other podcast because I had a back spasm. Ugh. So I had a contraction, a back spasm, and then had an epidural all at the same time. That was the most painful moment of my life. This was number 2. And I'm talking about pushing while giving birth is on that list. That comes in at number 3.
Wow.
It comes in at number 2 because there was nothing you could do. Like, again, you have a burn, you put some ice on it, even if it's really bad, there wasn't an ointment. I was putting ice packs on it and it was just on fire.
I felt so bad.
And so the morning came, like literally very early in the morning, and I looked at I can't do that. Like I have to go back to a doctor. Something's wrong. So you find an ophthalmologist for me to go to.
Yeah, my sister had recommended one. She had some eye problems early in the year, I forget.
Yep.
And so she loved her eye doctor. So I called him. It was like 6 a.m. No one was available. I left a voicemail, and they called back right away when they opened. They opened like at 9, and I got you in like at 9:20, I want to say.
Yes.
And so we go to the eye specialist now. This is like an eye specialist. And why don't you tell him how that went?
So I walk in and I can't see well. He has to put these numbing drops in my eye, and that's the first time I had felt relief. And I'm like, can I have those? Is that like a prescription? He goes, no, you're not. It goes, numbing eye drops are not allowed to be prescribed because if you abuse them, they can melt your cornea.
Melt your cornea.
And I was like, honestly, I don't even care at this point. Like, I need that cornea. It's not going well for me. But he put those in and I could finally breathe because it numbed my whole eye. And he took these pictures of my eye. And he found out it's not a scratch. It is a hole. So Marino got his finger in and dug out, and there's a hole in my cornea, and there was a literal flap from like what was dangling. And he goes, the reason this hurts to the level it does, and yes, scratches hurt, but they heal really fast because it's surface level. He goes, you have layers into your cornea, so it's not going to heal as fast. And that flap, he goes, imagine like you have skin that got ripped off and someone keeps tugging on the skin. So every time you blink, every time you close your eyes, it's like you're ripping on the cornea skin. That's why your eye's spasming out, all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we had to dilate my eye. He had to get me antibiotic drops for my eye. He had the numbing drops for my eye. So we went through all this. He goes, I'm going to give you antibiotic drops. And then he put a bandage on my eye. It looks like a contact lens, but it's used to actually bandage. He goes, this way, you're no longer pulling on it. So that's going to help. And I'm like, okay. We did all of those things, and I started to feel better. But by the end of that night, I was in severe pain again.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, time out. So let's just be clear. Marino, our little bundle of joy, tore your cornea.
He put a hole in my cornea.
The night we were supposed to be celebrating. You do realize that Marino tore your cornea.
It was accidental.
Now, we never really talked about this personally, but like, do we think he did it on purpose?
No,
yes or no?
I don't think so.
You're sure?
If he's gonna hurt either, he loves me. I will say, like, honestly, in his defense, there's been times where he spazzes out and he does stuff. He genuinely just reached for me.
Yeah.
But I was looking down, like, to help him with something. So it went, like, I didn't blink or anything because I wasn't looking at him reaching out. Mm-hmm. So it really just got in there full force. No blink blockage. It was not good.
All right. So he tore your cornea. Yeah. And now after the eye specialist, you felt better. But now by the end of the night, you're not feeling so good anymore. So
I was not. And I still couldn't open my eye. And I felt like a puffer fish. Like I was like, my face is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's a Saturday, so they're closed. This is the nicest doctor ever. He gave me his personal number because he was concerned. Like he was, listen, if it gets infected, I can't be like closed over the weekend for you. You need to be able to see somebody and not go to an ER.
And it made things more tricky because you were supposed to be flying home to see your parents in Minnesota on Sunday.
This is like Thanksgiving break.
It's the worst time.
Listen, I was supposed to be stressed about having a baby on a plane, not about being able to see the baby on the plane. It was a whole thing. So I'm like freaking out and I text him and I go, I'm in so much pain, like to a level where I'm going to be canceling my flight. And he's like, okay. So nice. He's in sweatpants. Like this doctor's in sweatpants. He came into the office to see me. Somebody else has to drive me again. I had to call my neighbor to drive me because I could not see.
I was hosting an event.
Yeah, I know.
So explain that. Like I was.
Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't just like I'm not gonna take you. Like I was hosting an event.
I called my friend who has become my neighbor, and I go, I'm gonna pull a major friend card right now. Okay, I've gotten you tickets to things. I need you. And she's like, what's going on? And I go, I can't see. I have the baby because you were working an event. So I also had the baby and I couldn't see very well, which was kind of scary. I go, I can't drive myself to this doctor's appointment. I can't watch the baby. She goes, do you need me to watch your baby or to drive you? I go, both. And so she was amazing. She drove with me, watched my baby in the waiting room, then drove me to go get my prescription. She was awesome. But I got to the doctor and I'm like, I'm in so much pain again. I cannot function like this. I can't be a good mom. Like I'm fully prepared to be uncomfortable. Like you said, I have a really high pain tolerance.
Yeah.
I do not need to feel 100 all the time. I work through sickness. I work through everything. I'm like, I don't care. My issue was, I need to be able to tolerate it. I need
drugs. I need drugs.
Give me drugs. I need everyday things to be tolerable. I need to be able to pick up my child. I need to be able to cook food. Like I can't see well, whatever. So he goes, actually, what's causing you pain now? I go, son of a bitch. So he goes, you have the bandage over your eye, so it's not the tugging on your eye. He goes, but because of the hole, your eye's of course puffy. It's reacting. He goes, but it's getting so puffy, it's putting pressure on your eye. It's like squeezing it. He goes, we need to get your eye less puffy. That's what's gonna like take it off. It's like all this pressure is on your eye. And I'm like, okay. And so he gave me the steroid drop, and I felt my face start to depuff as I took it each day. And then that is when the pain actually started to subside. It was the worst several days ever, though.